Hello everyone. In this previous video, we have talked about what is error that typically happens problem during the program while you are trying to execute compiling a program or executing a program. And we have also talked about the types of errors, exceptions, what is exceptions, and what are the types of exceptions. And the most important thing is handling the exception on and errors. In this today's video, I will demonstrate how you handle in a web application or specifically in Spring web applications and setting up your custom error response and like that. Okay, so first of all, let me allow you to a brief overview of what is our project, and then I will take you to the error handling part. Okay, so what is our basically project? That there is an e-commerce client. Okay, and you have heard about Razorpay, PayPal, and Stripe, Trustly. Right, these are the payment service providers. Assume an use case that whenever you trying to purchase an e-commerce platform like Amazon, Flipkart, and then add all your products to your carts and then trying to proceed the payments, right? Instead, you can find many options like Google Pay or Phone Pay for the payment activity, something like that. There is also some other platforms like Razorpay and Stripe and PayPal's. They are also providing the same service of payment service provider, so that the end customer who wants to trying to pay make payments, that will reconnect to the Stripe APIs. Means connect to the Stripe, and after making their payment, they will get their confirmation that your order is confirmed, and after some times they get their deliveries. Right? Okay, let me check. It's running. Yeah, make their payments and get the products. So what's our job basically? You see, these connection, it's not a trustworthy if your e-commerce client is directly connecting to this payment service provider. It's not trustworthy, and itself in future it will cause many problems if it is directly connected. That you don't have logs, then you don't have the status, what is the payment status, and you don't have basically the more capabilities, right? So it is not a good idea to directly connect to these payment service providers. So what is our job basically? That we are building a payment core payment processing service or project, you can say, or we are just integrating both of them and nothing. First of all the e-commerce request which I will send, first of all it will come to our system which we are building. Then from there we will, after all the validation that these are requests are valid, ensuring that there is no attacker here, then we will send a request to Stripe or Razorpay. In our case, it's Stripe only because our client wants to integrate this only. Okay. After then connecting to Stripe, Stripe will itself provide a link. What link? It's the link to redirect their hosted payment page. What is hosted payment page? Let me give you an example. It is look like this. Don't worry, I will cover this in next lecture also, but I am just demonstrating what is it. Hosted payment page look like this. Okay, sorry, null pointer exception over here. What is that? Mhm. Okay, let's see, is it running right now? Yeah. Okay. So what is a hosted payment page look like? Here itself. Okay. Here you can see it is the price and all the products, and you can pay your providing informations like card or like that also. Hey. So here you can see it is written powered by Stripe. For that, we are calling it a hosted payment page. What is why hosted payment page? It's because this page is hosted by Stripe on their end. So that we are calling it a hosted payment page. Okay. Actually, this link you are seeing right now here. Let me copy it here also. This link actually. Okay. This is the something like a links or URL you can say. Stripe will send us to our system or our payment processing system. Right. And then we'll see if it is a valid URL. Maybe Stripe there something error might happen here while communicating, and Stripe might not be sent us valid URL. So we have to check that also. If it is a valid URL, then only we will send back that URL with the ID, right? Then the customer will redirect to this page. Okay. Then only with that URL, customer will redirect to the this page. What is this page? This is the hosted payment page I have already talked about. And then they provide all required informations like email, name, and card number like that. Then makes the payment like here. Okay, email, card informations, all that name, and they make the payment, right? After that, Stripe also, when the payment is completed, Stripe send us back notifications that the client or the end user have completed the payment. Now you can give them access or give them the product, right? So this was our whole system, we can say. Here we send a notification, send the information that this user has completed this payment, and then they will further proceed their mm, issue the product or confirmation of delivery, right? Like that. So for building this our processing system, payment processing system, we have adopted, or you can say we have adopted the microservice architecture. Yeah, there are many architectures like monolithic. What is monolithic? In the monolithic architecture, the whole project is coded on basically in mm, one project, you can say, or the whole thing. If we are adopting in monolithic architecture, the whole payment processing system will develop it in one file or one project itself. Now imagine a scenario. You are going to a kirana store or for basically shopping. You are going for a shopping for generally essential things like toothpaste, brush, and like that. And when you go to the that shop, you see the things are unorganized. There is no organization. Things like all the dairy products are here, all the dry foods are here. There is nothing. That's all unorganized. Now imagine if the shopkeeper itself gonna wants to find the dairy products to give you. Imagine how much time it will take. Yeah, may so much a little more time, right? Similarly, if we build the whole product itself or whole the project itself in one project only, so it will become a messy, right? So that we have adopted only building with microservice architecture. What is microservice architecture? In that you divide the whole project into some chunks of services, and these services are grouped together of similar types of business works. Like we have divided the three microservices here, right? Let's say the first microservice is the validation microservice, that it validates all the incoming request, so that a specific logic will be applied there, or specific business logic will be applied there, and the similar types of validation grouping validations logics we are grouping together and itself making it as a service or validation service, validation service. And here itself we have a core payment service, right? And here itself we have Stripe provider service, right? We have divided this our whole system into three services. First of all, when our e-commerce client will send the request, let's say here it is our e-commerce client. Okay, then when our e-commerce client will send the request, all the request will come to the validation service for the validation purpose, that mm, if it is not attacked by any hacker or something like that, or if it is a valid request, maybe e-commerce client sent us some of the requests that is blacklisted at their side, so that we filter out these requests, those requests, right? Then only after the validation, our validation service calls make API call to the our core payment service. And then we are also storing that request in our database also, like that. In our database also, we are storing that request after the validations in our database saying that the payment is created, successfully validated. When the successfully validated, we are setting a status, payment status actually, that the payment is created, right? Then only we make another request to the validation service. Our core payment service make another request to the validation service that yes, we have successfully updated the status as created and with a proper ID, payment ID actually. Then the validation service sends another request saying that okay, now take the product information also and make the payment or connect the payment to Stripe. Okay, let's say here is our Stripe payment service provider. Okay, let me first. Okay, so here is our Stripe. Let's say um, I will do this. Cut it here from here. हम्म, इसको कैसे कट करते हैं? इसको इरेज कर देंगे. हाँ, इरेज हो रहा है. चलो ठीक. We are writing the status here. Okay, what was the status? Created. We are moved the created here or not created here because we have to draw this stripe also here. Okay, so where was the validation service sends a request to make the further payment or for the processing to call the stripe. And here is the stripe also. I'm naming it here. Here is stripe, right? Okay, so validation service calls the core payment service for the further connection with stripe, and then we also mark it status as what? Initiated. Initiated, right? We update the status as initiated in our database. Then we make the Stripe provider service call, make API call to the Stripe provider service. Then the Stripe provider service will make another API called the Stripe. Okay, then at the Stripe end, after processing the request, this API call request, then Stripe sends us back this to the Stripe provider service a response. In that response, it contains an URL for making the payment, URL of hosted payment page with a payment ID. With that, then this Stripe provider service in response gives that URL and ID to the core payment service, and then our core payment service makes another in response sends the that URL and ID, payment ID. Okay, then only the validation service in response gives that to the e-commerce client end user for the making payment, right? Here you see whenever our stripes sends the response with URL and payment ID, and then stripe provider makes sends the response that URL and ID also with core payment service, right? Then we also make another status updation. What is that? That the payment is created and the payment is initiated and the payment is pending also. Why is pending? Because we have sent the URL to the e-commerce end, e-commerce client end or customer end. But customer is itself now have to make the payments by going through this page. Customer is not made the payment. It just redirected to this URL or to this page. Now you will providing some information, you will make the payment, but it's not completed yet, so that we cannot make the status as completed. So that for that we are making the status as pending, right? Okay, then so what is my responsibility in this project? In this project my responsibility is to handle all the errors that might come during this process. Yeah, of course, with my senior developers guidance and in the cooperation with my colleagues also. Okay, so what the error might comes? Let's say this is the our server end, right? And this is our customer, or you can say the client end, and this is our Stripe payment API. Okay, let's say while making the API call, you made the API call here, and also while making the API calls, there is maybe the network connection failed, right? So what we'll do then? The error might come, so that we have to handle these errors. Maybe the client itself is not providing valid information or valid data while making API calls, so that there will be another error will occur or another exceptions will occur, so that we have to handle that also, right? Just making a sense, when the client itself makes an error or provides invalidated data while making the API call, so after the validation we check that it's not valid data, so we'll forward it back with a error response, or with a, you can say that error code 400 bad request, right? That you can also study the errors codes also here. I was talking about bad request, right? Yeah, 40400 bad request. The server cannot or will not process the request due to a client error. Example, malform request syntax, that the client have not provided us the required data or a valid request, so that we cannot proceed and give them a error saying that you are not provided valid request and status code is 400 or 400, right? Similarly, let's say client have corrected their request or sending a corrected success request or valid request, right? Then we are, while making the stripe, then also a error happened or exception happened, then only we can say that some error or exception has happened in our end, in our end. So we will send them again a request, or with that request we'll send them a 500, that is internal server error. Here you can also read about that. It is internal server here. You can also see the 5xx, which comes in range 500 to 599. That this status codes indicates that the server has encountered a situation it does not know how to handle. That the error has happened, but it's the server end, not the client end, not another. Okay, so what is 500 saying? Is that internal server error, that the server has encountered a situation that is doesn't know how to handle it, और कुछ तो गड़बड़ हो गया. Right, when you are trying to, there's some accessing web page, you might some get an error that please try again, we are facing a issue, something like that. You get error there. Okay, this is the that type of error. Okay. Okay, um, I was telling that our whole project is built on top of three services, three microservices, and I am and my team working on these two services, basically the payment processing services and the Stripe payment provider services, as I have just mentioned. Yeah, only these two services our team is working on, right? For that we have assessed only those services, and I have also run the project as well. So let's shoot the request from the Stripe and is some from the Postman end for the testing purpose, right? Okay, let's update the transaction reference so that it will not violate. Yeah, right. Every payment has its own transaction reference for the integrated unique approach. Okay, now I shoot the request. Yeah, it's saying that it generates a unique ID 65 in our system, and saying that status created, as I have just mentioned earlier. Yes, the status as created. Okay, then only why it's happening some null type error. I don't know. Uh, Let me fix it first. Okay. Let's make the payment and let's see what error happened. Oh, not 65 now. Our ID was 65, so we're also opening here. Yeah, something error is keeps happening. Let me. Where is the error? It's happening. Payment service status. Yeah, here itself. What is the error saying? Because handler is null. Okay, payment status service. Why handler is null? What is the status? Initiated. Acha. Oh, you have not specified the handler, right? But that maybe it is. No. Payment status service factory service status. Why it is taking let me. Oh, because we are returning it. let's say return text dot get begin not initiated status handler dot class, right? Now it will not shout, maybe. Oh, it is not making that. Yes, another setting request. Okay, it's the pending handler, maybe. Yeah, we have also this context dot get bean. Don't worry about this. I will cover this in next video also. Okay, let me finish it and try to, yeah, we are getting the success response. Okay, is it running? Yeah. So what was we are doing? We are basically making a payment. When we are trying to call, we are making a is the request is successfully proceed. Let's say we now do some chit-chat with the request. Let's see what happens. Let's see, make it created and 10. Now let's make the call. Yeah, here it gave the error that null pointer exceptions, or give the error. Here you can also see that here is the error. But you notice when the error comes, our application is still running here. It's not terminating, it's not crashing. Yeah, it's gave the error or printing the error stack or exception stack, but our application is still running. You see here in the both that application is still running, it's not crashing. Why is that? If we make another, let also wait here also, here you see it's giving the success request or success status. After the error also come, it also is running, it's not crashing. Why is that? It's because our Spring is handling, okay, sorry, our Spring is handling the error itself. The default error handler is provided by the Spring so that our application is not crashing. Yeah, it's printing the error stack or print exception stack, but our application is not crashing. Okay. But you see, while update here, and while we do some shades with the request and making the call, the error is come here. You see, there is a error pattern here. Where I can see, let's say open notepad, not notepad responsibility, right here, here itself providing a response that timestamp this status this. Well, when an error is happened, it automatically or generally provides a response back. But we cannot just give this response, or let's say is not big at all. I'm trying to manually copy and paste in here. I will say, but we cannot give this large response to our client. They say, what will this man? Why are you sending us these large request. um, Here itself you see it's a big stack also. We cannot just give this error response. For the simplicity, we only give when the error happens, we only give, let's say, error response, error, not error response, error code, and let's say some error code and your error message. This only. We cannot give these big traces to our client. They'll say, why are you idiot or what? You are giving just these big response to our system. That we'll only give this. What is the error code and what was the error happened with this request? Okay. So basically you see Spring is handling the by default error and sending this response. So how we will convert these response, this big response, to only this small response? We will see that in this video, that whenever there is a error or exception, first find that and try to complete. Okay, right. What is that? Where is the basically error happened? Let's see and we will try to handle that. Okay, is the error happened due to the payment status service INPL, which is here itself in the line number 26. Okay, what is line number 26? That okay, here itself, why it is happened? Because it is saying that null pointer exception, that while accessing the get id or operating the get id method on this particular object, it is getting null pointer exception, so that it can be null, it is getting null, or it is a null. And why it is null? Because there is no status as created temp. Yeah, we have created but not created temp, so that whenever you are trying to request with a created temp transaction status, it is giving us a null, and you are making operations with a with a null, so that it is giving a null pointer exception. So that first we have to handle this. Okay, if status in is itself a null, right? So just throw new runtime exception. Why runtime exceptions? As I have already discussed, that it is the unchecked exceptions that it will not check while the compilation. It will check only if it throw this exception only if the exceptions comes while the program running itself. Okay, so I am again shooting the request, and you see here is no more runtime exceptions, rather it's no more null pointer exceptions, rather it's runtime exceptions, that we have somehow modified the exceptions, but still it is managing by the Spring, still it is giving this big response. right? So first of all, we have to handle that, and how we will handle. For that, let us create a package called exceptions. Okay, payments dot exceptions. Oh, there is also created a package. So let not create a new. And with that package, we will create exceptions, that is payment processing exception. Exception. Enter. Right. And this payment processing exceptions will extends runtime exception. Runtime exception. Okay. And with that, we want this also, right? We want this error code and error messages that will replace here these traces error code and error messages. Okay, so give it that also. What is that? Making it a private string error code, right? And can just an error message. Yes, right. And also that is also suggesting, yeah, it's suggesting a serial id, serial version id. Okay, generate that also. Okay, and update with at the rate data also, data lombok, and all our constructor that we need. And it is also suggesting that some equal hash code super cosmos, that also they have to do that. Just okay, right. And it is also suggesting what, yeah, import control shift o and save, right? That's it. Now what we will do, we will simply instead of returning throwing in a runtime exception, we will now can simply throw payment processing exception. Yeah, now save it, import it also, control shift o, um, argument string. Okay, yeah, it also accepting expecting us to argument that error code and error message. Let's say we give the error code as um, error code as 2001 20001. Okay, and the error message was some what, it's the client error, right? Client, or you can say that invalid transaction, invalid status. You are created temp, but it is a invalid status, so make it as invalid status, transaction status, let's say txl status, right? And now call it from here postman. Let's see what happens. Yeah, see here there is a payment processing service exception, and here also error code is this and error message is this, invalid transaction status. Yeah, we are hard coding this because we are providing the values here also. It is not recommended. So we have to first create a enum first for these and do that. Let's get me a enum. What is that enum? Error codes. Let's say we'll call it error codes. That enum. Okay. Now that invalid txn status. With that, we can say that error code is 20,001. It is 20,001, and with that a message that what invalid invalid transaction status provided. Transaction status provided and semicolon. Yeah, this also suggesting that create constructor of these. Okay, and also we have to create the variables also. Private string error code let's just simply copy this and error message, right? So let that also be string error code and string error message, error string error message, error message, and also delete this also. Yeah, we are printing, we are just this dot error code equal to error code and this dot error message equal to error message, right? Okay, like that also we can now replace these hard-coded values with the enum we have just created. Okay, what is the enum? Error code, error codes, right? The codes dot invalid transaction status, here it is, dot error code. We have not annotated with getter also, getter setter also. Let's that annotated with data, right? It's saying data is not only supported in class. So let's say getter, yeah, control set. Oh, now we'll go to that status and dot get error code, and we'll replace this message also, error codes dot invalid transaction status dot get error message, like this. Now let's shoot the request and see. Okay, yeah, it is still that response, but we have removed the hard-coded value and converted it to enums. Okay, now what we will do, we want these response, right? We want these response, not that big response. We don't want that. We don't want that. So we want these response. So let's first create a Java class or a Pojo object of that, right? We'll go to the Pojo object and we'll make a class also, error response, errors already exist. Maybe I have created before. Yeah, I have created that, this error response and error messages, error code and error messages. Okay, now to manipulate or error code is not saved, save it. Okay, we want, we doesn't want this, we want this. So there will be only two annotation that will help us, which we want is that, where is exceptions? Yeah, we'll build a exception handler here. Let's say class processing, payment processing, payment processing handler. Okay, right, sorry, the handler page something capital H, and save and rename also this file. Okay, is that there is a annotation called controller advice. Controller advice, this controller advice itself is a component, component. Okay, so we'll see that later. Controller advice को close कर देते हैं. हाँ, we have to build a method public response entity, and we will provide the error response that is in Pojo, and handle payment, handle processing error exception. Okay, this is the method name, and we are also have to annotate with exception handler here, and we also provide what is the exception that is come, and we have to we are handling. The exception is payment processing exceptions, so we will mention that also. Payment processing exception, and then dot class. Okay, so here it is come exception, we can just exception, that not, what is this? This method must return here, and we are returning a what, error response, error response, error response equals to new error response, let's say, and that error response dot set error code equals to this exception dot get get, this is a bit like this, exception dot get error code message, right? And also we are return new error response, sorry, response entity, error response, that is a response, that error response. This error response also expecting us a status code, it's tp status dot, let's say bad request, right? And then let's now try to call. Yeah, look at here, now we have made the changes. Now we can send this error to our client. So thank you very much, stay connected.